So, folks, I want to talk to you guys about the fact that we are living through a time where I gotta be honest, and I've talked about this before, we are in dire need of accountability. We are in dire need of people who hold positions of authority, positions of power, to be holding folks who violate the trust instilled in them by the public. And what we have right now is just a cascading series of events every day that has the American government hopelessly corrupted by massive amounts of money or the misuse of political power for personal ends, right? And I want to talk to start out with about Colorado's Democratic governor, right? Because Jared Polis is a deep, deep, deep disappointment. And he's been a name I've heard thrown around, possibly for running in 2028. And I gotta be honest with you, even if I knew nothing about him, his actions today would be completely disqualifying. And what I mean by that is there is an ally of Donald Trump in Colorado who was convicted of essentially breaching an election facility and voting machines in the 2020 election. Specifically, about 6 months after the election, she got election data from voting machines. This was actually a breach that was so illegal that she was convicted and put in prison for this. Well, today, Jared Polis decided, yeah, we're going to let her out of prison early. She's only served half her time. Now, he is doing this because he has been pressured by the Trump administration in order to, release an ally of Donald Trump. And it's genuinely baffling to me that a Democrat in America right now could capitulate on something like this. There is no reason for Jared Polis to actually bend the knee on this. There's no reason. It's just pure cowardice. It is just fear pushing him to like the Eye of Sauron, don't look at us. Don't look at us. It's really, really gross. Yeah, no, Tina Peters has never been remorseful. She has never acknowledged that what she did was wrong. She has been serving a 9-year prison sentence. Yeah, Jared Polis praises RFK Jr., praises Make America Healthy Again. Is it cowardice or malicious obeying? I mean, with Jared Polis, it could genuinely be like he agrees with the Trump administration, right? Because he does. There are points of overlap between Jared Polis and Trump. But this is the kind of thing where this is career ending. This is career ending. To me, this is a blatantly corrupt use of power in order to serve the Trump administration. And no Democrat accepted in the Democratic Party should be doing that right now. We are in a time of revolutionary crisis. We cannot have Democrats bending the knee. We need Democrats who are willing to stand up and fight. Yeah, he's also still not redistricting. Every Democratic state should be engaged in the project of redistricting. That should be a top priority issue. And so we've got a situation here where folks like Jared Polis, folks like Amy Klobuchar, they are preemptively saying, no, we won't get involved. We won't step on the Trump administration's toes here.
We know what kind of Polis Jared is, a necropolis.
Got him. Pluvius, thank you for the $5 dono. Much appreciated. But I also, this isn't the only story I was just furious about, right? Because, of course, the number one people who need to be held accountable, especially in a court of law right now, are Republicans.
As was said in classical Athens, Asterisk, 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 the Polis.
You know, that was a time when people really knew how to be aroused.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Matt at Yahoo, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. But that's not the only story, right? And I've talked about this. Sean Duffy needs to be fired, right? He went off and he filmed for 7 months while being the transportation secretary, while airplanes were falling out of the sky, while the FAA was being, understaffed, underfunded, etc. He fucked off for 7 months to film a YouTube series. Okay? A YouTube reality show road trip with his family. And you might ask, hey, what money, where did the money come from for this YouTube series? And that's actually a really excellent question. And the answer is blatant political corruption. The Wall Street Journal just yesterday, had a report about how Boeing and Toyota donated $1 million apiece to make his fucking YouTube series. Yeah, no, this wasn't even for TV. This was for his YouTube channel. Like, when I say we need accountability in this country, I mean, like, Boeing and Toyota need, like, the people who run those companies, whether it's the CEO or the entire board of fucking directors, need to be charged as criminal. This is blatantly corrupt. They are not giving $1 million apiece in exchange for nothing to Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary's vanity YouTube series. This should be grounds for everyone. Sean Duffy, the companies that blatantly bribed him, etc. This should be grounds for them going to prison. Prison! Boeing, he's supposed to be watching their planes. Yeah, also worth noting at the same time, this is a story from 6 hours ago. FAA slashes hiring target, saying it can keep the skies safe with fewer air traffic controllers than it thought. I want to remind everybody, like, Sean Duffy oversaw the crash between, like, a military helicopter and a passenger jet. A lot of people died, and a lot of mistakes have been getting made in the FAA. It's resulted in people dying, people being injured. It is not a laughing matter. And now all of a sudden, oh, no, we don't actually need as many air traffic controllers as we thought. There are literally air traffic controllers right now who are working 15-plus hour shifts. They've had to bring back in retired FAA workers who are deliberately retired at the age of 55 because the kinds of people and the demands of the job at the FAA mean that people really have to have fast response times, have to be on the ball, etc. They brought people back in who under normal circumstances would be retired. I am
To be
so
fair,
furious.
with the war in Iran, jet fuel is going to be so expensive there's only going to be like 6 planes in the air at any given time, so it should be fine.
Okay, well that's, you know what, Pluvius, I hadn't considered that. That's actually a really great point. Maybe they're really banking on air travel grinding to a halt. Very good point. Hadn't considered it. But, like, what is their excuse? Why can they get away with fewer workers? Modern staffing models and scheduling tools will allow the 2,000 fewer controllers to keep the skies safe, the agency said. Let's just take a look. Under the 2026 to 2028 workforce plan, 12,563 certified professional controllers will be required, down from the 14,633 the agency forecasted it needed for those years in 2024. So, reading between the lines here, what they're saying is they're going to be using AI to schedule air traffic controllers. So it's totally fine, bro. Trust us. We aren't going to need air traffic controllers to safely land planes. Yeah, you know what? Air travel is only for the elites. I agree. Only the elites should be flying. And you know what? We can slash air traffic controllers down to, I don't know, like 100? 100 sounds about right. I'm sure the wealthy would be fine with the critically understaffed air traffic control towers. Yeah, pretty soon people are going to have to move away from airports just to make sure airplanes don't fucking fall out of the sky. It's genuinely insane to me. Everyone involved in these stories should be put in prison. All right? And this isn't even the worst story, of course, right? Like, we're living in a time of just complete abject incompetence, just absolute knuckle dragging incompetence. But I also really want to make clear here, it's not just incompetence. It is not just a whoopsie daisy. This is not an accident. It is not an accident for a mega corporation to pay a bribe to the US government. It is not an accident to go off for 7 months and film a YouTube series. It is not an accident to opt to underfund and not hire the required number of people to keep air travel safe. These are not accidents. These are deliberate decisions. It is a criminal level. You can't even really call it negligence because they know better, right? This is a criminal level of essentially just abandonment, criminal level of corruption, criminal level of enforcement. I want to throw out right now that it is also a work of pure, unadulterated malice and evil. That might seem a little bit hyperbolic, but whatever happens in the future when it comes to Democrats, if Democrats manage to win power, if we pull together, manage to get a Democrat elected as president, a Democratic Senate, Democratic, House of Representatives, more than that, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There needs to be prosecutions. And the prosecutions need to be at a level we have perhaps not seen before in this country. And when I say this, I want you all to feel it in your bones. We must prosecute every ICE official, every person within DHS, up and down the chain of command, every agent, every person every bureaucrat who has signed off on this, everyone. Every single one of them should be seeing the inside of a prison by the time prosecutions are done. Thank you for the membership here. And I'm going to go a step further. Any company that has contracted to carry out these services should also be implicated in such prosecutions. Building the infrastructure for a concentration camp system, that is criminal. I do not care if it was done because the company needed the profit. I don't care, if the construction was really lucrative. Like everyone involved in that decision, the CEO, the board of directors, the people who process the paperwork, every single one needs to be prosecuted. Because I want you all to understand something really significant here. It is, in fact, paramount that we do this. But I'm going to go a step further here. Because what you think you know about ICE concentration camps is actually a woefully insufficient picture. And, a lot of you know enough, right? A lot of you know enough to know that it's bad, that the situation is grotesque, that the situation is evil, that the situation is not what the government is telling us, that these are places where people are just processed in a matter of 3 to 7 days. That is not what these are. And we know that now for a fact because Project Saltbox, which if you guys aren't following them, you absolutely should be, managed to get and publish yesterday new governmental contract documents that talk about the deals that the government has signed with private contractors to provide services to these ICE detention centers. Okay? And what they have uncovered, what they have gotten, is that built in to a lot of the contracts that ICE has been making with private prison companies, with contracting firms, etc., that handle the building, renovation, etc., upkeep, maintenance of these ICE facilities, these massive, massive warehouses. What they've uncovered is that included in those contracts are prepayments, essentially, for worker programs. And I want to ask you guys, why do facilities that are supposedly designed for 3 to 7 day stays being built out to include programs to put inmates to work? We're going to take a look at this reporting here. I'm going to link it actually in all of the chats because it is, I think, an incredibly important piece of journalism. Let's see. Federal immigration authorities included a detainee labor program in contracts for 2 warehouse detention facilities in December of 2025, a month before the government had completed purchasing either property, right? The task orders executed procurement records covering sites in Williamsport, Williamsport, Maryland, and Surprise, Arizona were issued on December 22nd, 2025 under the U.S. Navy's Wexmax Titus contracting vehicle. Both were made effective March 6th of 2026. Among the operational line items in each, an alien volunteer work program reimbursable at a per detainee per day rate governed by contract terms that Immigration and Customs Enforcement redacted from the public records request that produced these documents. Now, what that means is we have multiple warehouse facilities being built that can supposedly house thousands or even over 10,000 inmates. What that means is these facilities are being built to include contracts out for prison labor for people who are brought in by ICE. That means, hey, if ICE thinks that you are an undocumented immigrant, even though you have documentation, you could be sent to one of these. You could be put into a forced labor camp. And you might say, oh, well, they're volunteer. It's a volunteer program. I want to point out something to you guys. In facilities like this, your ability to communicate with the outside world becomes commodified. They force you to work for days so you can afford a phone call. Most of these inmates, if they are paid at all, get paid $1 a day. $1 per day. Not per hour, per day. And what winds up happening is that, especially in the context of these facilities being run and managed by private companies, what winds up happening is if you want anything at all, soap, any kind of necessity that might keep you healthy or clean, you have to pay for it. It forces people to work. It's effectively recreating a company town style economy in a prison. And what you're seeing is the documentation laid out to build the infrastructure for forced prison camps, where people who are arrested are held indefinitely, without trial, without a court date, and forced to perform labor that they are not compensated for. It is slavery with extra steps. Yes, Dubai is also renowned for its slavery. That's true. So, what exactly does this look like? Let's take a look further on in this Project Saltbox. By the way, Project Saltbox includes the task orders and the different details of the programs as downloadable documents, so you can look at the actual government documents yourself. Okay? Incredible work they're doing over there. ICE's internal planning documents for the Detention Reengineering Initiative, a previously reported program to overhaul and expand the agency's detention network, described regional processing centers as staging locations where detainees stay on an average of 3 to 7 days before being transferred or removed. That overview, dated February 13th, 2026, was shared publicly by New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte after ICE sought to convert a warehouse in Merrimack, New Hampshire into a similar facility. The purchase was ultimately abandoned. Nowhere does it describe processing sites as places where detained immigrants would hold jobs. Yet both task orders include the work program billed per detainee per day, capped at an undisclosed amount, with government governing terms in Section 27.9 of each contract's performance work statement. Those sections were withheld and the rate itself was redacted. Identical language appears in both documents, which were awarded to different companies in different states: KVG LLC in Maryland and Garda World Federal Services LLC in Arizona. The identical language points to a standardized ICE contracting template under WEXMAC and not language specific to either facility or operator. So what that means is these are not isolated documents. These are not isolated instances. What this is a glimpse into the systemic nature of what they are trying to implement here. And I've been talking about this for a while, right? I've been talking about this possibility has been lurking disturbingly in the shadows for quite some time. And what we're talking about here, and what I talked about in the past, was essentially back when the big, beautiful bill was passed, right? Part of that big, beautiful bill that the Trump administration got through involved capping the number of immigration judges. And what that means effectively is it slows down the rate at which immigration cases are processed. So the cases for undocumented immigrants, because the number of immigration judges is capped at an astonishingly low number, like if you wanted to actually process these people in a reasonable frame of time, we know the number of immigration judges we would need to do that. And it's a large number. The Trump administration isn't interested in hiring that many immigration judges, isn't interested in a program that only keeps undocumented immigrants and suspected undocumented immigrants detained for only 3 to 7 days. So what does that leave us with, right? What is the reality that we get left with? Well, what we're left with is the Trump administration has purposely set up a scenario and facilities across the nation where the number of detained individuals awaiting deportation who can be kept indefinitely in such a state because they have less legal rights are then sent to centralized holding facilities. And what exactly are they to do? What exactly is what if not used, if not like sent back to their country of origin, if not being processed, what do you expect is going to be done with them? The Trump administration has decided that they are going to use them for slave labor. That is functionally the reality of what is happening right now. The good news here is that many of these facilities have been stopped by local action, by people on the ground getting involved. And I am here to encourage you to do that. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA. When you get involved in your local politics, you can stop ICE facilities. You can stop ICE facilities being contracted with your local government. You can stop collaboration with ICE. You can end 287G agreements between your local police and ICE. You can stop AI data centers from being built and siphoning up all of your water. Your local politics are highly malleable and responsive to your political action. There is hope in getting involved in that way, which is why every single time I end a show, I tell you guys, get involved with your local Dems, get involved with your local DSA. Make your local Dems more progressive, make your local DSA more effective, organize with labor in your community, organize with other people who are activated politically, because when we all work together, there ain't nothing that can stop us, okay? Not ICE, not Not any power on this earth, all right? But what I am also here to tell you is that that is not enough. It is not enough for us to simply stop the bad things from happening. There needs to be accountability. And just like how I said when it comes to Sean Duffy and his entire grift and graft with with Boeing and Toyota giving him millions of dollars for a YouTube series nobody is gonna fucking watch, just like that, not only should every ICE officer, every ICE agent, every ICE bureaucrat, every Border Patrol bureaucrat, every Border Patrol officer, every fucking person from the bottom to the top of DHS who is involved with this kind of operation, not only should all of them be prosecuted, not only should all of them see the inside of a prison for just following orders while building a concentration camp system, but so too should every single private company, every board of directors, every CEO, every single person involved in making the decision that they are going to help build and facilitate concentration camps so that they can make a quick buck. Every single one of these people should be spending the rest of their lives in prison. Every single one of them. I mean, I have to be honest with you guys. We are seeing a slide towards the inevitable conclusion of every single concentration camp system. And that is death camps. We've already seen the proliferation of torture in these concentration camp systems. We've already now seen the implementation, or at least the beginning step of implementing forced labor. And I have to be honest, when you think back to the death camps of Nazi Germany, to the concentration camps built by the German state, to the ghettos that people were forced to reside in at gunpoint, if those were run by private corporations, don't you think those corporations, the people who worked for them, the people who facilitated the concentration camps, don't you believe they should have spent, their lives in prison? Like, there is, I think, an idea here in America that, like, well, maybe some, maybe they were just following orders. Maybe they should be let off the hook. I don't think so. Every single ICE officer should be prosecuted. Every single ICE agent should have to answer for where they were, when, on every single fucking day. And to be fair, it's true. Some of the concentration camps were contracting labor out to different German corporations. And those German corporations, they managed to get out of that scot-free. Many of them still exist to this day. And I think that was a fucking mistake. If your company contracts with the US government to facilitate concentration camps in the United States, your entire company should be destroyed. Should be picked apart systematically, its wealth distributed to the people harmed, and every single person in a position of authority should never see the light of day again. They should be in a cell, and that should be their life from here on out. It is disgusting to me that in 2026, we are looking at a country where concentration camps are on the rise. I want to refer to another part of this article here. Before these task orders became public, what was known about ICE's warehouse plans rested on two sources: internal agency documents reported by the Washington Post on December 24th of 2025, which indicated ICE planned for up to 1,500 detainees at each facility, and the agency's own representations across 4 separate federal lawsuits, where it has consistently put the planned capacity at 542. These procurement records add a third layer. Unlike a leaked planning document or a court filing, a task order is an executed contract specifying what a vendor is being paid to deliver in what sequence and over what period. The blueprint that emerges maps onto neither the 542-bed processing center ICE described in court, nor the short-term staging mission the agency has offered publicly. Under the base period of each order, the first 60 days are reserved for contractor transition and facility retrofitting. A 6-week ramp-up follows, during which beds come online in incremental stages. The remaining roughly 8.5 months are structured around full-capacity detention operations, guards, transportation, per-detainee billing, and the work program running in parallel. Should the government exercise its options, each contract envisions 2 additional 12-month periods of uninterrupted operations. Fully exercised, both would extend well past the 2-year mark. Yeah, we're talking like nearly 3 years of contracted operations right now, right? And not only that, going down here, processing centers shuttle detainees into large-scale facilities capable of housing 7,000 to 10,000 people for 60 days at a time or more. These are not 500-plus person facilities. These are 7,000, 10,000 plus person facilities. Many of you might live in a town or city that has less than 10,000 people in it. Cavitate, I'm not going to tolerate bootlicking for authoritarian fascists like the dictator of El Salvador, who runs a torture prison. Fuck off and masturbate to torture elsewhere. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. People who hold up El Salvador as like a model for what to do with undocumented immigrants, they torture people systematically. They actually have forced work camps on a mass scale that they then sell out to different corporations. It is not that different from what the Nazis did, and it is in large part a model upon which the United States is trying to base this concentration camp system, just on a much larger scale. Also, there's a direct financial support for this. Remember, an ICE officer shot a woman and he got $1 million donation? Well, yeah, that's because MAGA loves cruelty directed at people who are darker skinned than they are. Full stop. Full stop. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The MAGA movement loves the idea of torture. It's why we just got a guy in Twitch chat talking about how it's the ideal model to base it off of what Nayib Bukele is doing in El Salvador. I have watched extensive tours of those prison facilities, and I can tell you they are torture dungeons. And it is worth noting that these facilities, these concentration camps that are being built here in the United States, they are not just for adults and hardened gangbangers. These are for people who have, in some cases, never been arrested before in their lives. These are for people who are families. There are honest-to-God children in these concentration camps. And there are systematic abuses of women, children, the elderly in these facilities. Especially also of those who have disabilities, of those who are minorities of any kind. You know, there are terrible stories about what happens to trans people. There was a story I read maybe a week ago about an undocumented immigrant in a wheelchair who was denied the use of his wheelchair while in ICE detention. He had to crawl through the facility. And it is very clear to me that while the Trump administration has made ICE less flashy, less of a headline news item, it is very, very clear to me that there is an intent here to expand this. And not only do I want every single person involved with anything to do with this concentration camp system behind bars permanently, I also need Democrats to not be preemptively bending the knee to Donald Trump right now. As we move forward into the future, as we look at what Democrats can offer in 2028, what needs to be abundantly crystal clear is that every single Democrat up for election should be promising wholeheartedly to dismantle every fucking brick from these facilities. These places, this infrastructure needs to be destroyed. There is nothing good that comes out of these facilities. There is no use case for these facilities other than rampant torture and abuse of second-class individuals in our society. Because that's effectively what undocumented immigrants are, right? They're codified underclass in American society who have different rights on the basis of their paperwork. And I don't know about you, but I don't fuck with apartheid. So I'm going to tell you again, get involved with your local Dems, get involved with your local DSA, and do everything you can to fight back against this encroaching system of abuse, this encroaching system of, I'm going to say it, genocide, because that is what can be used. This system can and will be used for. It's already being used for ethnic cleansing, even in its incomplete state. We cannot allow this kind of infrastructure to fester and be co-opted, potentially in the future, by malign actors. So you should be getting involved on the local level because there has been an immense amount of success on the local level, systematically denying operational capacity, denying land use, denying utility use to these facilities to effectively shut them down. And our job, such as it is as individuals in a big bad world, is to slow them down until we can take back political power and dismantle this shit. That is what needs to happen. Because there is not a single goddamn person in the world on their lonesome who can stop this. There is no savior coming. There is no, Superman. There's just us. It is just as it always has been, working people organizing together in the ways they can, big and small, standing in solidarity and building a movement. The entire purpose of you guys being here is not just to passively absorb information. The purpose of you guys being here right now, right here, is so that you guys can hear what I'm saying and take action in your communities. To be the sand in the cogs of this great machine that would seek to crush each and every one of us. And when we hit a critical mass, we will bring this entire wretched nightmare crashing down. And we will build something better from the ashes. Our hope remains in the hands of working folks. So let's get to work. All that being said, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help in the algorithm. Share the video around, do the things. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is sexy. It fits, and it's non-tucking. So go check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link should be down in the description. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat deck is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.